welcome all to this new exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. And today we have a very special guest who tries to understand uh, or discover India through her travels. And so we'll talk to her about what is an interest, why she does it, and what is the thought process behind it. So without delay, let us welcome Shri Anuradha Goel.
Namaste, and
Namaste.
thank you for having me on Sattology.
Namaste. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Anuradha. And my first question is, your website is very beautiful. In fact,
Thank you.
when I went through your website, you have very carefully chosen places, and you have very carefully. When you travel, you also get into the spiritual behind. Like I liked your travel to Vrindavan, which you did, which you had
Mhm.
to speak on why it happens where. So
Hmm.
before we begin, what motivates you to do that?
Okay, so for me personally, it has been a spiral of learning, So I started traveling just like everybody travels for entertainment, for curiosity. And eventually, when I kept traveling, my travels got into explorations and then they started getting more intense. And today, when I travel to a place, I try to read about its history, its ancient places, any scriptures, what they talk about these places, any stories associated. And when you read and go, you also try to figure out those places, if you can find any traces of those places. So this has been a long spiral, is which kind of goes on, and as you go on, the intensity of your travels keep growing. you know you the way you look at a destination changes, the way you experience a destination changes, the way you prepare to visit a destination changes. So it's been a spiral. So there's nothing like it started one fine day or one fine day I had a dream and I started traveling. I've been traveling since I was a child. My father worked in defense, so we lived in multiple places. So travel has always been a part of my life. But about 16, 17 years back, in 2004, I started writing about my travels. And that could be a little bit of a turning point, because once you start writing, your sense of observation goes up a lot. That's a long answer to a short question.
Very interesting. I think it's good, very good. I think travels, it is said that travels defines a person's character sometimes, and also builds a person's character also.
Yes.
And we have seen the diaries of Huan Sang, who traveled to India. You've seen diaries of
Uh-huh.
other Fabian and other European, or what do you call it, Greek historians traveling to India. So
Right.
travel has been through ages where people have discovered other cultures.
Mhm. Mhm.
India is such a big land of diversity that every single corner of India speaks a story, and
Right.
and a story of what was there and what was not there.
Right.
So, any interesting story that you remember which can inspire the viewers about something about India?
I have million stories. I
Just
don't know
share one.
how to pick one, because if you go on my blog in details, you will find all of them written. Not all of them, a lot of them written. I'll hopefully have a couple of books coming which will have more insightful stories. And so I don't know how to pick up one, but let me talk about the how travel impacts our personality. So I would not say character, but I would say personality. It opens up our mind every time you travel to a new place, a new destination. You putting yourself in a different time and space, in a different atmosphere, and it opens up your mind like anything. You start picking up everything new that you see, and if you are intelligent and smart enough, you can use that to create new things. In fact, in my past life, I worked on business innovation. I'm by profession an innovation consultant. I even write a column on innovation for a newspaper in India. And so for me, it's like the source of innovative ideas when you travel. So it expands your mind, it expands your thought process, and it expands obviously you as a person. That's the impact travel has on you.
So, like your recent travel to Hidimba Devi Temple at Manali.
Yes.
So, is this the actual place where Hidimba met Bhim, or
See, there is no way to ascertain because we can't, there is no per se material evidence which says that this is the place where she lived. But a lot of corroborative evidence or a lot of descriptions of the place do tell us that this was potentially the place. But that really does not matter because places keep changing. The temples keep moving due to natural as well as man-made reasons. But what is important is that the devotion for that place is in the form of Hidimba Devi. It's the story of Hidimba Devi that is alive at that particular point. So that is more important, and also the fact that the how the whole day and a year of Hidimba Devi continues to be continues to be followed by her devotees even today. So it's so if you wear just an archaeologist's hat and look at things, that's a very very limited way of looking at Indian spaces. Actually, anywhere in the world, not just India. But India specific, I'm talking about India specifically because this is a space I understand well. This is my space, the land where I took birth. So if you wear one hat of a historian and you start getting stuck with the dates, we are never going to have an exact date of anything. And something that happened 400 years ago, also, we can never pinpoint to an exact date unless it was recorded then and there. So, there is a phase when you get stuck with the dates and times and things like that. But eventually, you get over that, and it really doesn't matter if it happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We know that it happened in the past, as long as you believe it happened in the past.
so what you're telling me that when you go to any place, you go with an open mind, and
Absolutely.
you do not try to. So my question to you is that when the Christian travelers they travel to Middle East, when
Hmm.
they go there because of their faith and devotion,
Mm-hmm.
and they are trying to build their identity, which has been lost for generations. All of them have lost their identity
Hmm.
or connection.
Hmm.
Do you think in your travels, do you have that modus operandi that you are going to a place connected to Mahabharat and you're going to find out the authenticity of that place as much as possible or connected to Mahabharat? Do you have any such mindset like that?
So you do try to find out. So, for example, when I was traveling, I was doing a road trip from Shimla to Manali. I reached a place where Pandavas, the it was the same route that Pandavas followed to on their way to the heaven. So we see a place where Draupadi fell. We see a place where Yudhishthir fell. I didn't see the rest of the places, but they must be on the way. So these are places. Now there are multiple places which have the same claim. Now which one is right, none of us can gather, and none of us can guarantee. Even if you go to the scriptural evidences, there are multiple places which claim. For example, there are a lot of cities named Viratnagar. Viratnagar is the place where Pandavas lived in exile when they were for a year, when they disguised themselves and lived in the Virat kingdom. But there are multiple Virat Nagars. They all are in the same geography. They're not too far from each other. So you know that they roughly existed somewhere here. Um, but exactly which one is there, or the cities have stayed exactly the way they were 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years ago, it's impossible because That's a long period. I mean, you visit a city after 20 years, today the city has changed completely. So how do we expect cities to be same for 5,000 years? There are places which used to be bustling cities and are now forests. When you go and see temples of Khajuraho, you know that they were a bustling city or a kingdom at some point in time. But today when they were discovered 100, years ago, they were found in ruins. So the places have moved. So places move for multiple reasons: economic reasons, environmental reasons, civilizational reasons. So places keep moving. The cities have their own life cycle, which they go through. So exactly finding that, you're lucky if you find something, but depends. If you're looking for Ramayana, Mahabharat, well, you can say there is Ayodhya, there is Sri Lanka, there is Nasik, and there is Kishkindha. All those are there. Now, whether to say if Sri Ram was born, whether we know the exact spots, I don't know. I mean, I don't. I'm not a historian. I'm a traveler, and I go by the experience. When I stand in front of Ram Janmabhoomi murtis, I feel a very strong emotion for Sri Ram, and that is more important.
No, you're right in a way. Say that for the historians, it's very important to pinpoint an exact location. And there are many ways to do that. People do it through archaeological science. We all know it's an incomplete science. Many times, K.K. Mohammed has also said it, and many other authors. There are scientific publications there that carbon dating has failed over the years, especially in the case of Ram Setu. So, did you ever do Ram Setu for your travel experiences?
Yes, yes, I've been to both ends of it. In fact, I have spent a lot of time on the other end of Ram Setu in Sri Lanka, where there is an equally big temple being built. So I spent some time there. So what I would say is that, you can keep looking for evidences. So there is an underwater archaeology that was done for Dwarka. And they did find a city which pretty much matches the description of Dwarka in Mahabharat, uh, quite close to it. Now, but there is a limitation to the amount of archaeology that we can do underwater at this point in time. Our skill sets are not sophisticated enough to take a snapshot of it and date it. You know, and it honestly, as a pure academic exercise, it makes sense. But if you are someone who believes that Mahabharat happened and Ramayana happened, it actually happened as a part of our history, then these evidences, these tangible evidences are a very small part of it. The intangible evidences are far bigger. The continued living culture is far enough, and hopefully I'll one day put it in a book form and give it to you to read. So the intent, what we tend to do is that, we come from a lot of Western mindset where everything has to be a hard evidence, which is a tangible evidence. But we do not look at the intangible evidences. The evidences that we find in the cultural traits of people, evidences that we find in the folk performances, in the folk songs, in the folk rituals that we follow. So there is a whole lot of that economy that has been completely ignored because it doesn't look scientific in the sense we define scientific today.
You're absolutely right. I think there are many things which our eyes cannot see, but our hearts can feel and our ears can hear. So I think
Yes,
you're very much right. And in fact, most of the Vedic culture emphasize on Shravanam more than
yes,
Kirtanam. So
yes.
because you see these things through your ears, not through your eyes, and that's why when you read Ramayana Mahabharat, even though
Hmm.
Ramayana happened almost 15 lakh years back or whatever, according to what,
Hmm.
and Mahabharat happened 5,140 years back uh, during that time. And so, but still people have faith. People still go and look for Ram, Krishna, and they're still looking for these places.
you know um, Aditya ji, I would say a very small percentage of people, very small, little minuscule percentage of people in the academic and scholarly world is looking for all these evidences and fighting amongst themselves about their work. Most of the population in India just believes it. You have to travel out and know. If you keep talking from your libraries and your academic spaces, you will keep talking only about what is written. Like Kabir said, "Tu कहता कागज की लेखी, मैं कहता हूँ आँखन देखी." So what I'm telling you is about what I have seen and felt with my own eyes. People just believe, it doesn't matter. You can say whatever you want to say. I know Ram lives here, I know Krishna lives here, and this is how they live, and this is how I relate to them, and that's it.
No, you put a very important point, because throughout the history by the British and by the
Mhm.
other invaders to India, there was an attempt to destroy this connection of people with their idols, with their deities. But it has never gone away. The traditions have held stronger than
Yes,
anything else. And so you're totally right, because if I love Ram, I don't care about whether he was born or not born there. For me, Ram is always there. And if I,
yes,
this is exactly a good, very good point. The faith precedes the actual acceptance or non-acceptance of the historical evidence. So all the
right.
sciences, whether we see, one thing good comes into this discussion is that the belief and the faith and
Mhm.
the historicity of the documents like Ramayana and Mahabharat, which was written, it precedes anything which the Western world can put on it. Anything.
Right,
And that very strongly comes out from our talks right now. The
right.
another thing which I like in your articles is when you write an article, like you've written Odisha, and
Mhm.
I'm not ashamed to say Jagannath is my favorite deity in India. And so when you say
Hmm.
Odisha souvenirs, so what is that in Odisha that you are trying to capture in the travel blog that you wrote there?
You asking me?
Yes.
Okay, so souvenirs is actually a series on our blog. So wherever we travel, we try to tell our readers about what are the things that they can bring back with them. So and every place, so India is, as we know, is extremely rich culturally. Every small region has its own art and craft, their own way to express things, their own way to create things. The creativity of every region is very, very different. So every region has something that you can bring back with you, be it the weaves. Every region has its own weaves of fabrics, they have their own painting styles, they have their own craftsmanship. So for example, in Puri, you get these beautifully painted coconuts, on which a coconut is taken, and on it the three Jagannath, Subhadra and Balbhadra, are painted beautifully. Very simple thing, but very exclusive. You don't get it anywhere else in India. At least I have not seen. So souvenirs is actually a series. Wherever we have traveled, if you go, you'll find a series on almost all parts of India that is covered on in details. So that we cover, and these are very popular posts. A lot of people look at them when they are traveling. They look at them and say, okay, what is it that I can take back with me? What is the most authentic thing that I can buy from here or take back as gift, including food?
These souvenirs bring to the point, like brings the remembrance back when you're back home. When people
Right.
they come back home, and souvenirs is something there. One of the things in the, I live in San Diego, and one of
Mhm.
the things is in the west coast of US, mostly around the Southern California region. Hinduism is one of the most popular, even more popular than the Christianity or any other
Hmm.
religion. Hinduism and Buddhism are considered the religion of the rich. And,
Hmm.
and one of them, which you notice, one of the things which you notice is that wherever they go in India, they'll make
Mhm.
externals of the houses like those, put some
Hmm.
symbols everywhere. So
Mhm.
this is one thing which I see when you talk about souvenirs. It's a big promotion for the Indian tourism as well.
Yes. Yes.
So my question to you is that do you feel that more can be done by the Indians, because the biggest export of India is the culture. Uh,
Mhm.
I say the symbols of Hinduism, like what you show generally in your travel blogs, and the temples. Temples are the biggest attraction of India. Is there
Mhm.
something more that needs to be done from your point of view to expand that particular line of export?
So temples, I can only think of bringing tourists. I don't know if you can call it export per se, but you can bring a lot more tourists. But I think we need to build a lot more storytellers who can tell the stories of these temples. Because unless somebody tells you the story of the temple, it's just another similar looking temple. Unless somebody can explain you the art and science behind it, the philosophy behind it, the deities behind it, the rituals, because every temple has some unique rituals. So unless somebody can explain, they are meaningless, especially for people who do not come from the same faith. So if it's a Hindu, they probably understand the temples inherently. Even they can do with a lot of storytelling and help guiding, but if it's an outsider, they definitely need much more help. So we need a lot of work, and in fact India tourism needs a hell lot of work. India tourism, is my favorite phrase is, and I've said it in like thousands of interviews, is that it's like we're sitting on a gold mine with a begging bowl. So that's the state of India tourism. We can do a lot more. I'm trying my best to do whatever I can do as one single person, but let's see.
So thank you, Anuradha ji. Very inspiring to speak with you, and we always hope that we invite you again with a specific story on the Indic tales which you have.
Sure,
First of
sure,
all, I'll
sure.
congratulate you. Very beautiful name, and a very good website. I mean, looks very professionally done, and as well as very attractive with content.
Right.
So
In fact, we've just started a series of podcasts. It's called Detours with Anuradha Goel. And we are trying to bring in stories of a lot more people. So we are trying to bring experts from different places who speak about the ancient stories of their places, of the strange stories that we do not know. For example, our last podcast was about the 12 most prestigious diamonds in the world have their origins in India. How many of us know that? you know so we're trying to do that. We have a YouTube channel on which we post a lot of videos. We have an Instagram handle on which we are creating a big visual database of temples. If you go on in details Instagram handles, you will see about 133 temple stories with their stories and basic data posted. So I would urge you to, and your students, to connect with us and ask us any questions on the content we have.
absolutely, and we'll also post your in details website and where people can connect with you, and also
Mhm.
your YouTube channel people can connect with you. So
Sure.
when you go to India, or you have a contact there, Anuradha Goel, and visit, or maybe if you have any tours, you can let us know. We can announce in advance here.
I don't have, but we can talk about it. I mean, if there is a demand, we'll help curate after the COVID fever is over. We can create. We are not really into tours. We don't do tours. We are purely into content and everything to do with content. But we can always guide people on
All
on
right.
the tours.
Thank you so much, Anuradha ji. Namaskar, and we'll
Thank
call
you.
you again whenever you have time.
Yes. Sure. Thank you.